Hi, everybody. Well, this is Dr. Abbott, and welcome back to Test 1. So, what I'm going to start with is what is the definition of music? The book describes it as organized sound. Organized sound in time is the extension of that because we do have a rhythm aspect. Let's take the concept of sound. If sound isn't music, what is it? Well, it's different things to different species. What we know is that we take repetitive sounds or repetitive events, and as soon as we hear some sort of pattern, we put it into what we consider to be music. Here's what I've done. I've taken a whole bunch of sounds, a bird song and a whale song, and I've put that behind different rhythms and different sounds and different harmonies. Take a listen to it and see what you think. Okay, so that was our first montage of sound. Here's what I would like to discuss. When did you start thinking that it was music? From the very beginning? Or did you have to hear each individual sound and then put them together in a context? Well, that's what the brain does. The brain hears sounds, looks for patterns, listens for harmonies, and assembles everything into this very complex mix of sounds that we call music. I may have mentioned before, it's the first music you heard, your mother or your father's voice, because the fact is you had no idea what the language was. To you, it's just a sound. And the color, the texture of the sound, the tone color of the voice, and the emotion that was in the voice told you a whole lot of the story that was going on, that your eyes and ears were combining into a narrative. That's another thing that humans like. We love a narrative. You'll notice quite often songs discuss relationships. Think of all the long-running shows, movies, sequels. They're all narratives. The other thing I wanted to discuss was if this music was somehow alarming. This kind of music is often referred to as new music because there's always a new sound. If you want to rewind and listen to it again and then again and then again, you'll find that each time you listen to it, it gets less interesting because you know what sounds are coming. This is the whole story behind recorded music. It's very rare that you listen to something live. We'll discuss that later on. I wanted to mention also, as far as sound montage, you didn't have anything to look at, but if you did, it would be the whole context of a movie. I could put images, either moving images or still images, and you would create some sort of narrative about what the music means to the picture. Now, without any picture up there, you're basically at the world before recorded music. When people heard music up until 1905, when everybody could get access to a phonograph. When people heard music prior to that, and we're talking about centuries before that, the main thing they did was create their own images. And that is something that everyone is very capable of, but doesn't have to work at it too hard, because for the most part, with the internet, television, all the images are being provided to you. But if you've ever had the feeling, this music is not working to what I'm looking at, perhaps they're doing it on purpose. The next thing we'll talk about, if our main subjects, our main fundamentals are melody, rhythm, harmony, and tone color. Which of those two do you think everybody understands? Nobody needs to have a music degree to understand. Give me two. Then the next question, number 4. Which of these do you think you need to study? When I say study, I don't mean you have to go to school and take a bunch of classes. I'm saying you can go on the internet and learn it. You could buy books and learn it. Pick the two that you think are easy to understand, that everyone understands, and then pick the other two that are difficult to understand. This is question 5. It's not really hard to struggle with this question. Is reading a book about music the simplest way to understand it? Well, let me just answer it. Of course not, because the main thing which you really need to do in music, which is question number 6, is you need to listen. It doesn't really matter whether you have books or internet sources, even teachers. You're going to have to listen, particularly to settle any argument you're having with your friends. You're going to have to settle that by actually listening to the music. This is what a music appreciation class is. It's not about changing what you listen to or telling you what you're listening to is dumb or you should be listening to something else. It's really about you being an expert at what you're listening to and listening to it from different perspectives. So the next question, number 7, true or false, most people have inferior listening skills. This is from Aaron Copland's book, What to Listen For in Music. Copland, one of America's great composers, took time off to basically tell people how to listen to the music. And one of the first things he said was, you do not have inferior listening skills. Matter of fact, whatever you listen to, you're very good at listening to. So we will take that position in this class. You can show me what to listen for in the music. Question number 8, where do we hear music? We're bombarded with music. So the answer is E, all of the above. Let me take a look at the different examples. A concert is full of people who usually have the music in common. They've spent their own money to come and hear their artist or their group perform, and it's an event. So you'll see a lot of like-minded people. They know the songs, they know the words, and one of the things you can say about music, it is much more powerful in a group setting. Sporting events, the music is used as a backdrop, or what we'll refer to as a function. Music serves a function. It's not the main reason you're there, but it gets the crowd going. We will rock you, things like this. So have one side of the stadium, there's a home field advantage and all these things that you've probably experienced if you've been to a sporting event. Religious ceremonies also use music as a function, but they use it to draw people in. So they use it to make people feel together. When we discuss this in music and society, we'll say that loneliness, people of a like mind, there's attractive qualities to the music that's being performed. And some people will go to churches because the music suits their taste, and some will not go to a specific church for the same reason. Letter D, a Renaissance fair. The most important thing about an event like a Renaissance fair is that you're actually going back to a period of time, which we're going to listen to also musically. The Renaissance, by the way, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 1400 to 1600, and you'll notice that most arts, no matter what they are, sculpture, architecture, music, painting, all seem to use the same dates, but there's a costume that people wear. This is going to be the person that's next to you when you're pumping gas up in Sample Road and they're on their way to Quiet Waters Park for the Renaissance Fair. And you're thinking how unusual this is that someone would go to that extreme. And they have jousting and they eat the same food and they share the same music from the era, the Renaissance era. So letter E then is all of the above. Now just a brief discussion of what I mentioned and didn't give you the answers for. Melody and rhythm, most people seem to understand. The aspect of being able to sing in the shower, whether it's good or not, is not relevant, because if no one's in there, who cares? The whole idea of being able to tap your foot or feel a groove are rhythm games. The other aspects of this, harmony is a very mathematically based series of very interesting frequencies that all seem to line up. And when we discuss this, we won't discuss it in the detail that you would if you took a class, but just know that it really works in a sort of invisible mathematical world, and it's going on behind the music for most people who don't really pay a lot of attention to it. So I would ask you, in your favorite song, what is the background? And when I talk about the background, I always talk about the Mona Lisa. So you have the figure of the Mona Lisa, with which most people can relate to, but most people don't know what's in the background. and that's the harmony. So the melody in a picture is the main figure, what your eye goes to immediately. And the harmony is what is in the background. So realistically, if you change the background of the Mona Lisa to the bottom of an ocean or the top of a mountain, the entire feel of the picture would change. And this is something that's been done with the Mona Lisa many times. You know, they have the Andy Warhol Mona Lisa and the Brito Mona Lisa, and there's many different versions of all these. As far as tone color, it may seem very simple. Oh, I know what drums are. I know what a guitar is. But as I've mentioned already, what kind of guitar is it? And if it's an acoustic guitar, which kind of acoustic guitar is it? And so it starts getting into adjectives. It gets into a dry sound and a wet sound because they're using a Gibson Les Paul, and the Les Paul is plugged into this particular box and going into this particular amplifier. So tone color is something that you need to study. It's just worth mentioning now that there's almost no money, there's no budget for composers of soundtracks or commercials or TV shows. They need to have all the tone colors on some sort of mainframe at their home. And that is really the key. You have to study it. And when you learn what to put behind certain sounds, certain melodies, certain rhythms, that is called orchestration. So orchestration is an entire course that we don't even offer at Broward College because it really is like 4 years in. Some people are already very good at orchestrating because they understand with digital sounds, just pick up a sample, put it behind whatever the melody is. So I think that ought to cover it, and take a look and fill in the answers. Thank you.